Ladies and gentlemen, seekers of light and secret knowledge wherever you may be, you are listening to Points of Light Radio, the podcast dedicated to taking you past the apron and behind the closed doors of lodges everywhere. And here is your host, Stan Miller.
Greetings, brothers and sisters. Shalom. Assalamu alaikum. It's wonderful to be back with you here on Points of Light Radio as we continue our journey and continue to, in our attempts to raise the profile and preserve the history of these various different fraternal organizations. Right? And how have you enjoyed that journey so far? Well, we're going to be carrying that journey on today by visiting the Brotherhood of St. Andrew. Now, just to give you some insight, the Brotherhood of St. Andrew is an international lay Christian organization with its historical roots in the Episcopal Church of the United States. The Brotherhood was first organized on St. Andrew's Day, 1883, as a prayer and Bible study group at the St. James Church in Chicago, Illinois. Brotherhood of St. Andrew's chapters exist in Anglican parishes in Australia, Canada, Brazil, South Korea, and Japan. Right. I never heard of this organization myself until I began to do some research into it. And they do a tremendous amount of great work. And here to shed light on the work as well as the organization of the Brotherhood of St. Andrew is Sir Thomas Welch. He's the executive director of the Brotherhood of St. Andrew. This sounds interesting. It really does. And I can't wait to bring you this organization. But as I always ask you, are you still thirsty for knowledge? Are you still searching for the light? Then you just trim your lamp and follow me. Mr. Welch, welcome to Points of Light Radio.
All righty. Good evening, sir. Glad to be with you.
Yeah, you are the executive director of the Brotherhood of St. Andrew. Why don't you tell my listeners and viewers a little bit about yourself, first of all?
Well, I've been with the Brotherhood of St. Andrew since June of 17. I was involved with a full career down in Jackson, Mississippi for 30 plus years, and then sold my practice to a fellow parishioner at my church. We were in the insurance and investments business and started working with these gentlemen and the lay administrative men within the Episcopal Church at that time.
Okay, now tell us about the Brotherhood of St. Andrew. Now, you mentioned the Episcopal Church. Is the Brotherhood of St. Andrew, is it interdenominational, or do you have to belong to the Anglican or Episcopal Church?
That's a two-part yes and no question.
Okay.
We're Episcopal based because they were chartered in 1883 at the Cathedral of St. James in Chicago, designed to reach and preach the gospel to men and youth and provide food, clothing, and shelter to the homeless in Chicago. Since that time, they've grown throughout the country and overseas. And we have found that while we're Episcopal based, it's not at all uncommon for us to see men of other denominations and even other faiths coming to join us. I can think of two cases in particular where we have golf buddies, one Hebrew and one Gentile, where the Hebrew likes to come to the Brotherhood meetings to partake in scripture study, which is one of the things that the Brotherhood is about, prayer, study, and service.
Okay. And so what is the purpose, shall we say, of in today's world? What is the purpose of the Brotherhood of St. Andrew? Exactly.
Well, it's to engage people for who they are, as they are, where they are in life, whether they be young adults or adults well into their lives and careers through mentorship. Mentorship is good, Stan, but discipleship is better.
Okay.
And that's what we first began a model that was built on discipleship that might lead to friendship and mentorship. But we're finding with those that have been born after about 1990 or so, the key is to build the relationship first and see where that can lead you. So the mentorship can lead to discipleship down the road. And that's what younger adults are very hungry for, is to be able to network with people more seasoned in their own careers, whether it be education, law, construction, engineering, ditch digging for the power company, or, a public utility or something like that. Because so many of them have grown up in a single parent household without that male figure.
Or even then, even if they did have both male and female figures in their life, many cases, I think you'll agree with me, from the 1980s, maybe 1990s on, in many cases, the parents were just too busy to do that mentorship stuff. Like it just, you know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. One of my daughter's former students, when she was teaching middle school, had a student whose parents owned a convenience store. And they were at that store, from 6 to 8, almost midnight every day. And if he was going to have time with them, it was going to be at the store more than at home. And she always spoke of how tired the child was during the day because he was dealing with 18-hour days.
And even with a lot of suburban parents, I do find even today, their children go from school to hockey practice, or from school to, there's no church in their life for that matter. And things like that. So, I think, your organization sounds like it's doing something very important that way.
Thank you.
Now, one of the Brotherhood of St. Andrew's goals is, as they put it, and I quote, inspire, empower, and equip men to fulfill the Great Commission. Now, what exactly is this Great Commission we're speaking about?
To spread the gospel of Christ among all the world.
Okay.
Though that was our charge from the New Testament, and for the church corporate. So to inspire, equip, and connect, I think again the connection is first, and we equip them with the tools to make life more fulfilling and meaningful in the here and now, so that the connection is made much deeper to inspiration.
How do you inspire, empower, and equip, though? How do you go about doing that?
Mainly through small group fellowship.
Okay.
There's 7 different areas of ministry, Stan, that the Brotherhood has available. Some of our members gravitate more to one more than the other. Evangelism and discipleship is the first one, of course. I'm going to rank these out, at least the top 3 or 4, based on our survey monkeys, where the interest is greatest. Evangelism and discipleship still remains number 1. Veterans Affairs, recovery from alcohol, porn, and drugs, and racial reconciliation are almost in a 3-way tie. So the second, third, and fourth are very high. Scouting, social justice, prison ministry, things of that nature.
Your members do go into the prisons, and
yes, in fact, until COVID, and I meant to have checked on this earlier this year, but up until COVID, the largest Brotherhood chapter we had was at a penitentiary in the state of Texas.
wow.
But and I'm talking about in the hundreds, but as I don't know how they've come back into the prisons since, post COVID, because some of the guys that were shepherding that program had moved, but that's where our biggest chapter had been, was ministry to men in incarceration. Sir?
What would they be doing in there? Leading prayer services?
Yes, they have a devotional guide that they would use that focuses on structured study of the Bible, conversation, and ways they might be able to serve outside the prison walls, which can, for them, be most commonly done and easily done through prayer for other retreat centers around the country, for other prison ministry programs around the country and things of that nature. It's mainly helping give them a sense of belonging that is not gang based.
Okay. So let's discuss the areas that some of the areas you focus on: prayer, study, and service. Now, how do you go about like bringing those into people's lives, shall we say?
Typically, it happens on a breakfast meeting early in the morning, or with some cases, particularly where we've got a younger demographic involvement, it can often be on a weekday morning versus a morning time, say a Thursday evening at 6 or 7 o'clock, the first and third Thursdays of the month, or first and third Tuesdays. It's whatever fits the life of the parish itself. We count on the leader, the clergy person at the parish is always involved with helping them do the formation. And so it would begin there, typically over a meal. You know how guys like to eat. And sometimes the meetings can be a pint and a prayer book in the evening, but most of the time it's a cup of coffee and a prayer book in the mornings.
Okay. And you meet in parishes and like churches, things like that?
Some, I would say in excess of 80% of them do that, maybe even 90. But I do know, particularly in the metropolitan areas where this is more along with young adults than others, or where people having to come downtown to work from the suburbs. Sometimes they find meeting at they'll find a restaurant, they'll give them a room to meet in, pro bono, because they're routine customers in there. Mm-hmm. Or sometimes it's in a conference room at a YMCA,
okay,
or a dining meeting room at someone's office.
Okay,
that's very common.
Now, does the Brotherhood of St. Andrew have a degree system?
No, sir. They do not. You're a child of God, and that's it. That's the degree.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Now,
it's not fraternal in that. It's not fraternal in that sense. No,
that's
sir.
Fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
But how is the order doing membership-wise, age, your demographic makeup, religious even wise?
The demographic makeup of the Brotherhood of St. Andrew is not unlike that of church corporate, be it Episcopal based or other mainline denominations. Most of the membership is age 50 plus.
Okay.
A large part of that is driven by what you spoke to earlier this evening, Stan, and that is the involvement of hockey practice or soccer practice and football practice. It's not at all uncommon for intramural sports to be played on Sunday mornings these days, and that has really clipped the involvement, particularly of young men, in the life of the church as teenagers, and then therefore it could be 30 or 40 years of age before they start to realize there's something more than this corporate ladder to provide fulfillment.
Very true. Now, I've heard it said from members of other fraternal organizations that you learn a lot about yourself as you go through your journey. Now, what did you learn about yourself in the Brotherhood of St. Andrew?
That's a marvelous question. What I learned about myself in the seventh, because I had not been familiar with the Brotherhood of St. Andrew, Stan, even though I had been in the Diocese of Mississippi since the mid 70s. I was just not aware of the ministry, and I was very involved in another ministry that provides small group fellowship, and I missed it. But what I've found about the Brotherhood of St. Andrew is it's like standing in a grove of oaks of righteousness and truth. Very wise men, some of them very wise to be 40, some of them very wise, expected wisdom at 70 years of age. But you learn to be vulnerable with each other. You recognize that there are some things that are easier to talk about with a couple of guys than it would be in a room of men and women. And that's where I have seen, particularly when I go to their retreats or learn of them secondhand of what's going on, is that chance for that small group fellowship just with a couple of guys who can talk about those things that might really be troubling them in their soul, that could wreck circumstances around them if they talked about it with somebody else.
Such as?
Well, let's say if they were had a recreational drug use addiction or something along those lines,
Yeah.
or that they had
Even men's
been
health, general.
men's
That
spiritual,
guy's not
mental,
going
and
to want to
physical
sit there
health.
in front of a mixed room talk about his prostate problems.
Exactly, that too. Yeah,
I mean, let's be honest. It's true.
that's very true. Uh, I'm grateful to know that, or sad to hear on one level that is a problem with so many gentlemen. It's not been a problem for me, thank goodness. But my goodness gracious,
Yeah.
um,
But
yeah,
yeah.
you're right. Things like prostate issues or other health issues or relational issues that
Yeah,
have their seasons.
exactly. So what drew you to the Brotherhood?
What drew me to the Brotherhood was to find other employment within the church, lay employment. And I liked the principles that I saw they stood for. Like you, I did some poking around on the website. We have completely redone the website since 17. In fact, we had a soft rollout of this site that you saw back in January. But I talked to a couple of clergy people that I knew in my home state of Mississippi who were familiar with the ministry, and I had to relate it to another affiliated ministry in the church called Curcio that was all about their three principles are piety, study, and action,
Okay.
which really came based off of prayer, study, and service. They just tweaked it just a little bit a different way. Same way with the Daughters of the King, who are about prayer, study, and evangelism. So there seem to be those three tenets that work in different, by different definition, but with the same method of helping to build the kingdom and build relationships.
And what do you feel it could offer others right now, even younger fellas?
Well, for the younger adults, mentorship and discipleship is number one.
It is important.
Number two is a network of people outside their employment environment that they're not having to impress or please to try to succeed or promote themselves in their career, but find by accident sometimes, it's by God incident actually, find other people who have been in similar circumstances that they find themselves in their hopes, dreams, and ambitions in life, and just love them for who they are, as they are, where they are, and not what they can do for the business that they're in. Just love them as guys.
I mean, it's the importance of that third space. I think you'll agree with me, but that the church and these organizations provide that spiritual third space as well. I think you'll agree with me. And something I personally have rediscovered lately between lodges and churches and things like that. The importance of the third space in a man or a woman's life is very important. I think guys are terrible at accessing those places.
Even though it's a very, very thin veil, that veil's it's not very porous, but it's very thin.
Very true.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Sir Knight Welch, I thank you for your time today, and God bless you and your organization.
Well, thank you so much, Stan. Blessings to you and the ministry you provide there with Points of Light Radio. Pretty awesome.
Okay, bye-bye.
That was Sir Knight Welch, brothers and sisters, shedding some light on the Brotherhood of St. Andrew. Now, some things I took away from this. First of all, I love how this interview, like some others before it, devolved into more of a conversation and discussion. I really do. And I feel all my guests can be comfortable with that. I love having discussions here. I really do on this podcast. But you've heard me say this before. Here's the other thing I picked up from this conversation, I gleaned from it. You've heard me say this before on Points of Light Radio. As secularism has crept into lodges and service clubs, people of faith have become uncomfortable and marginalized, right? In some cases, some of these fraternal organizations, and I'm not going to name them, but they no longer want people from our faith communities
in them. They really don't. And they don't do much to hide that. But here's an organization that is unabashedly faith-based. And it welcomes the spiritual and those who want a deeper walk of faith. And I love that, right? Part of the discussion we had here was the erosion of family and churches within our society. And here you have an organization that values both family and mentorship. And it does its mentorship from a faith-based perspective. I love that, right? Out there trying to make people's lives better, right? Through the prism of faith, right? And I love how we touched on, right, all male fraternal organizations. Now, I have to respect organizations that still hold fast to being not only all male or all female, but, that does so for more than just tradition, right? How do you feel about that, though? How do you feel, my listeners and viewers, about that, right? And as I've always asked you, have you ever heard of the Brotherhood of St. Andrew before? Right? Right? I love the great work they're doing, right? And how many other organizations like this are out there? Well, we're going to go find them, okay? And give them the recognition that they deserve, right? But I want to take this particular segment straight to air, so that's all I have time for today. But before I go, I need to remind you once again that this podcast is available on both YouTube and Spreaker. Please share, like, and subscribe when viewing Points of Light Radio on YouTube. I also welcome your comments and input. You can follow Points of Light Radio on my Facebook page at facebook.com/Points of Light Radio. My Twitter handle is at PO Light Radio. You can see the link to my Spotify channel as well as my Points of Light Radio store. But brothers and sisters, as always, it's been an honor fellowshipping with you and my guest. But until we meet again, just step into the light.